The Mexican Revolution by Adolfo Gilly. It's a book that was written by Adolfo Gilly while he was a political prisoner. And in this particular English translation, and this is part of A People's History series by Howard Zinn as the editor. And the foreword of this book is by, as you can see, Frederick Katz, who is or was a professor of history at the University of Chicago. The Center for Mexican Studies at the University of Chicago is named after Frederick Katz. If I turn the book around, and actually before I do that, if you see here, I don't know if you can actually see it well, but what it says, it has a quote from Octavio Paz. And Octavio Paz wrote about this book saying, "A notable contribution to the history of the Mexican Revolution." So that was really big for the young Adolfo Gilly, who was writing this book as a political prisoner. This is the back of the book. And this is actually categorized as Latin American Studies. Okay? And this was the Mexican Revolution was the first social revolution of the 20th century. And this was actually a revolution that inspired many popular colonial and socialist revolts around the world. The result of the Mexican Revolution, the big result, was the 1917 Constitution, the social constitution, that inspired the Soviet Constitution. And there's some more quotes in the back from Carlos Monsiváis, who is a Mexican writer and cultural critic, and I think he's a professor at the UNAM as well. A little about Adolfo Gilly, you see that right there? Adolfo Gilly, maybe? Okay. And it says about him that he is a professor of history at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, UNAM. He has written numerous books on the history and politics of Mexico and Latin America, including Inside the Cuban Revolution and Chiapas and the Rebellion of the Enchanted World. He lives in Coyoacán, Mexico. I actually added that Coyoacán. It only says that he lives in Mexico City. But I know he lives in Coyoacán from reading other stuff. And then about Frederick Katz, is a Morton D. Hall Distinguished Service Professor Emeritus in history at the University of Chicago. From 1992 to 2002, he served as a director of the university's Mexican Studies program, which was renamed the Frederick Katz Center for Mexican Studies in 2004. And he is known for The Secret War in Mexico and the Lives and Times of Pancho Villa. And The Secret War in Mexico is actually was translated to the Spanish as La Guerra Secreta en Mexico, and that's actually a book that you can find in almost every library, you know. So this is it. This is the book by Adolfo Gilly that I strongly recommend, and I read this out of just curiosity, and I learned a lot. And it only covers from about 1900 up to 1920. That is the revolution. It's covered until that time. Because according to Gilly, that was the armed struggle phase, and the revolution was interrupted and was never finished. Its course has not finished, according to Gilly. But other scholars will argue that the revolution, some argue that ended in 1920, 25, 22, 40, 36, and even 85. So this is a really good book. I strongly recommend it.